welcome to Gorillacast, the digital marketing podcast that helps you navigate your way through the treacherous digital marketing jungle. Each week we'll be chatting to a different guest spanning all areas of digital marketing to help you improve your strategies, share new ideas, and even scale your business. So whether you're a freelancer or business owner, work for a digital marketing agency, or even work on an in-house marketing team, we plan on bringing you a ton of valuable news, tips, and insights to help you up your game. So without further delay, let's say hello to our co-host, Kyle, our SEO Director.
How's it going, guys?
And David, our Senior SEO Manager.
Hello, everyone.
Awesome. So we actually wanted to start this podcast probably a couple of months ago now. We had all these grand ideas of recording it on video in our nice, luxurious city centre offices. And then obviously COVID happened, and now we're recording remotely from our back bedroom offices and laptops and alike. So we do plan on bringing you a podcast that have a slightly higher production quality in future iterations. But for now, we just wanted to get a couple in the tank and start doing them remotely. So how are you finding it working from home, guys?
Pretty stressful, to be honest, mate. I've got a pregnant girlfriend at the moment, so it's entertaining to say the least.
Yeah, it's not conducive to optimizing websites efficiently. Is that what you're saying?
I'm doing my best, and obviously clients are getting what they're asking for and stuff. But emotionally, I wouldn't say I'm 100%, to be honest. I can't wait for this whole thing to be over.
Yeah, clients are getting what they're asking for, and you're getting what you deserve, basically. Dave, how are you finding working remotely?
Well, just to try and compete with Kyle, as a father of three, I'm sort of working a balance of making sure all of our clients are receiving the highest possible quality of SEO work whilst becoming a living, breathing, climbing frame. I've discovered that my favourite things are spending time with my children and hiding under the stairs from my children. But yeah, I find that sort of balancing your day and sort of helping out with the homeschooling and things like that, and then using the evenings for work once they're asleep, or at least pretending to be, it's sort of been the best balance for me. I know me and Kyle and I have sort of been having optimization conversations in the wee hours of the morning, just because we can both get a bit of peace and quiet and not being asked to do jobs at that sort of time.
Well, you wouldn't be technical SEOs if you weren't optimizing websites at 3 o'clock in the morning, having not showered for 4 days on end. So
exactly,
that's the mark of a good SEO. I'm finding it all right, to be honest with you. Obviously, I don't have children to contend with or a pregnant missus, so it's pretty relaxed in my house. I'm going out every day. I'm getting my walks in the morning, trying to make a good use of my time, getting up earlier and getting me emails and that sort of stuff out of the way. And then I'm spending a lot of time in virtual reality, to be honest, boys. I'm spending a lot of time with the old Oculus Rift. Yeah, I've been watching films in a VR cinema. I've been fighting virtual gladiators, working on my axe technique. So it's going pretty good. It's going pretty good.
Consider me a very jealous man, I'll just say that much.
Yeah, that's it. I'm chopping, I'm slicing, and I'm watching lots of films. But other than that, no, I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to get back to the office, though. I think we've got good team spirit when we're all together in the office, and it's a nice vibe. I do miss it. Like, I think we're lucky in that respect that, you know, we've been having meetings with clients by video call for, you know, years before this was even an issue. And even part of our initial sales process contains things like video audits and screen sharing and that sort of thing. So I think we're one of the rare industries in the world that are actually able to thrive during this time. And I'm sure a lot of people that work in digital marketing or web design and that sort of thing feel the same way.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And I think we're very lucky that we're not sort of sat in the position that many are. Although living in a very working class town, and all of my neighbours being furloughed and being sat out on the front street on sofas with cans of alcohol sort of from morning time does make me slightly jealous, but I'm not really ready to hit that slippery slope anyway, I don't think.
I'd bet they just, on the front of the can, it just says alcohol.
Yeah.
Literally
Oh,
cans of alcohol.
I didn't
Government
realise you'd visited.
government deployed alcohol just to stop the riots. All
Yeah,
right,
I'll send
cool.
you
So
South Africa. Sorry, Trev, go on.
no, that's all right. I can edit around it. Don't worry. Oh, maybe I'll leave it in. Who knows?
Nice. No, I was going to say in South Africa they banned all the alcohol, so you can imagine the riots going on over there.
Oh yeah, I should address Kyle's accent for those who might think he's coming down with COVID. Kyle, Kyle's from South Africa.
Yeah.
So he is, but he's you're British born, aren't you?
No, my folks are both British born, but unfortunately, or fortunately, however you decide to look at it, I was born in Johannesburg.
So raised on the barren wastelands of Johannesburg, and then brought his tact for SEO and thick soles of his feet over to over to
Over to,
Manchester.
yeah. First time I ever saw rain was when I was 19, and it hasn't stopped since.
Really? Yeah, that's it. Rain's your life now. You move to Manchester, mate. Buy a jacket. Put a brave face on. Right, okay, so I suppose in this first one, it's going to just make sense to learn a little bit more about us and so people know who they're listening to. Obviously, in future podcasts, we're going to reach out to different people from various branches of digital marketing or even things like sales within digital marketing. So we're going to talk to agency owners, in-house digital specialists, people including email marketing, PPC, social media, web design, and everything in between. So we don't want just because we're specialist SEOs, we do have a lot of valuable contacts and relationships with people in all areas of digital marketing. So there's a lot of content that we're going to be able to bring to people in terms of learning new tips and tricks and that sort of stuff. So, but for now, I suppose it just going to make sense to learn a little bit more about the backgrounds of us three. So Kyle, how did you get into SEO?
It was a bit of a weird one for me, to be honest. I was actually weirdly a restaurateur. I stumbled onto having two restaurants in Cape Town, which obviously weren't very successful in the slightest. And while they were sort of circling the drain, I was just like, how do I get more people to eat here besides cooking better food? And
Because that's not an option.
no, it wasn't an option. No.
So it was either SEO or a shotgun then.
And yeah, just sort of the magic question that I typed into Google was, how do you rank on Google? And it sort of led me down down a bit of a rabbit hole. The first guy that I got into, I believe his name was Jay. He went by the screen name Lazy Ass Stoner, and
Nice.
yeah, 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 nice. Obviously, very professional and what all our clients want to hear. But yeah, and then he sort of introduced me to the whole concept of it, how websites rank, how Google, how a lot of people can see it as just this almighty, all-knowing entity. But at the end of the day, there's sums behind it all, which determine the organic ranking results. So, I spent quite a while tinkering. That's sort of around the same time I got back in touch with you, Trev, because obviously we know each other from flipping burgers and
That's right,
chicken
yeah.
fillets at Nando's. And I found out that you'd got into the industry, and where we got communicating again and talking again after having not seen each other for a while. And then yeah, I learned quite a lot of what I know now from doing like testing and stuff, doing and following quite a lot of courses and well-known SEOs and that. And then yeah, I moved back to the UK. I got a job in it for a while, and then here's guerrilla marketing about 5 or 6 years later.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard that quite a few times actually. The people that it's the full-time job or career, or they maybe even run their own SEO business. A lot of the time, it's because they were running a business of another kind of. Perhaps they had like a they had a plumbing business or something like that, and they were looking to drum up more business, but they wanted to do it themselves, and they sort of got into SEO that way. I know a friend of yours, Mick. He was running a TV aerials company or something like
Yeah,
that,
that's
right? And
correct.
that's how he got into it.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think it's
correct.
interesting that people find their way into SEO just by looking to do a little bit of their own marketing, and because obviously with things like Google My Business and people running their own websites and stuff like that now, they're able to find their way into a complete new industry and then start charging for it themselves.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly what happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yourself, Dave?
Well, for me, I like these stories because you never meet anyone in SEO who went, "Oh, I just decided I wanted to be an SEO." We've all got our, "Oh, I fell into it through this" story, so it's quite fun. Yeah, but for me, I was actually working full time in the ticket office and club shop of my local football club. Just in a job that I had taken as a stopgap, but ended up spending about 4 years there because I got to talk to the players and be a huge big fanboy, wasting my life. But I had a friend who had started offering sort of website builds to local businesses, and having been a bit of a geek for quite a few years already, he sort of reached out to me and said, "Oh, look, I've got more than I can do at the minute. Can you sort of get involved?" So I started helping him to construct these sites, and then inevitably clients then started asking about SEO, which meant very little to us at the time, and probably had the same opinion that you do still sort of encounter within SEO, that people think it's a button that you click on. So we started reading up a bit, started offering SEO services as we learned how to do them. And then one of the clients that we had on at the time sort of offered to bring me in full time. They pulled us into a meeting where I thought we were about to get the dressing down of our lives. And the guy sort of said, "Do you want a full-time position?" So that was my first full-time proper SEO job a decade ago now. Much younger lad with a full head of hair at the time, believe it or not, lads. This is what SEO has done to me.
SEO's turned you into a Viking.
Yeah, wouldn't change a thing. So yeah, I've worked in a few different roles over the years. Started out with that company, which was an e-commerce company, sort of selling everything from full bathroom suites through to physiotherapy equipment. So I've moved between in-house and agency roles over the years. Working for some quite big and household names without dropping any, because I know travel tell me off.
Only if you've got an NDA, which is usually the case.
Yeah, about a decade in, I've joined Guerrilla Marketing just sort of in time for us to all be sent home. So I got really
just in
used
time for the cushiest job in the world to occur.
Oh, not even close, mate. I think I'm missing the office more than you guys. To sort of join and have that dangled in front of you, how cool the offices are and the workplace environment, and I think we were almost exactly a month in when we all got collectively grounded by the government.
Yeah.
So yeah, just spend days dreaming of when we're allowed back in.
Well, that's good. You heard it. You heard it. You heard it from the horse's mouth. It's he wants to come and work for us so badly that he's even willing to leave his children to do that.
I'm not just willing; it's one of my main
Please
prerequisites.
let me work.
Don't make me bring them.
No, I'm only joking. I've been in SEO about 10 years, same as Dave. It was a weird one for me. I ended up getting into it through an apprenticeship. Sort of accidentally ended up applying for a sales role at an SEO agency. I just saw that there was an apprenticeship available at a cool looking digital agency, and obviously I was working at a restaurant, as Kyle mentioned earlier at the time. Unwittingly stumbled into a sales interview, for which I was not qualified at the time. And then just happened to mention off the cuff that I like writing in my spare time. I was writing bits and pieces while I was at home. So he said, obviously, you know, you're probably not well suited to this role, but there is another apprenticeship opening next week on the digital marketing team, and they're looking for someone that can write. So I came back the next day for another interview, and I was offered the job the same day. So I kind of never really looked back from there. I spent 5 or 6 years at that agency. Oh no, sorry, I spent 5 years at that agency. Then I freelanced for maybe 6 months to a year before I was offered head of SEO role at a big automotive brand here in the UK. About 250, 300 branches nationwide. So obviously my SEO game stepped up considerably from there, having, you know, 250 plus local rankings to look after, as well as very competitive national rankings. And I mean, we were competing with big automotive. Probably we were competing with the biggest automotive brand in the UK, as well as a load of other household name brands that you'll know as well. So that was really where I sort of honed my craft and took my SEO to the next level. But it was also a great opportunity for me to rub shoulders with leading experts in other areas of digital marketing. I learned a lot from them as well, you know, conversion rate optimization, PPC, social media marketing, email marketing, and journeys, everything. And, you know, I sort of really treated that as an opportunity to just have genuine curiosity and just ask a lot of questions and ask for people's time. And they were, you know, if you go to someone, you ask them, like, to teach me more about what you do, and you're genuinely curious and enthusiastic about what they do, they're always more than happy to give you the time. So
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
it was a great opportunity for me to reach this stage now where we're at, really, which is having the confidence to run an agency and know that we are amongst Manchester's top agencies, but really see what industry leaders are putting out, and then you know where you sit amongst the pack, and it's having the value of that experience and having worked there for 4 years to then come out and feel comfortable in asking clients for money to pay for the services. Because to me, that was always the one thing that I was perhaps most apprehensive about was, oh God, you know, like you have that imposter syndrome. It's like, am I really worth it? But you know, once you've been in that environment and you've sort of seen what industry leaders level service looks like, you know that you're at that same level then, and then that's when you know. Obviously now, you know, we've been running the agency for a couple of years, or I've been in the agency for a couple of years, you know, we've got a good sort of
set in a bit,
yeah, but it's that initial jump off point from going from working for someone to working for yourself. That was the sort of obstacle. But once you see the first load of clients come through and go, wow, this is a really great quality of service, you realize that it's because of those lessons learned from learning from those other people, where you go, right, okay, like that's actually rubbed off and people are really happy with this, you know. So that's how I got into it. So that was a good sort of segue as well that you mentioned, Dave, having been in it for a decade, because obviously during that time, digital marketing in general, but particularly SEO, has changed massively. I mean, it changes massively over shorter time periods, but over the past 10 years, I mean, when I first got into SEO, that I was taught to write an article, submit it to an article spinning website. I think it was submityourarticle.com, and then it would respin the article into gobbledygook, and then it distribute it to 100 different press websites, all containing your link. So I think SEO
what was that? There was also like writearticles.com and stuff like that, where you could throw it up to, and there was like a DA90 site at the time. And
what does that mean for people that aren't?
So people who are antiquated enough to be using moz.com, that's one of their metrics to determine the strength of a domain. Within guerrilla marketing, though, we use the DR, which is the rating from Majestic and Ahrefs. I mean, when I remember the week that I got into SEO, I moved back in with my mum after the restaurants are closed, and I remember just having a bit of a look around, and it was literally probably about a week after I think it was Penguin came out, or Panda, one of the two, and it was just absolute chaos. Everyone was going, SEO is dead. We can no longer do SEO because the 90% of the strategy was literally just used as automated bots to just submit all your backlinks to these like article spinning sites and
directories that
and
were absolute
directories.
monstrosities. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Not
that
to be
was
confused
Google
with
back in the
the
day.
few, not to be confused with the few, excuse me, the few directories that do still offer worth, because they're not a completely redundant form of link building, just in case I'm taken out of context.
Cool. So
No,
where do you think where do you see SEO going in the future months, seeing the sort of patterns that we've seen so far and Google's shift in focus on what it determines a website that should be ranked at the top of the search results to be? Where do you see SEO going in the next few years?
For me personally, because like there's two aspects to this. Like I always believe that organic will always be will be pivotal to a digital marketing strategy. It will be there till the end of time. But with the move to mobile, especially, is in just how many scrolls it's now taking within the organic search results to get to the top organic results, because you've got to go first past the ads, then there will be video snippets, FAQs, rich
Map pack.
snippets, map pack, all of that. I mean, there was
Yeah.
a recent Moz article. I know I slate these guys off all the time, but there was actually a really good article on them, or on this fact where some people had worked out that it was like over 2,000 pixels to get to the first organic listing for some search results, because you've also got the Google Shopping, you've got the map pack, you've got the FAQs, you've got the rich snippets, the ads, obviously the ads, because that's how Google's making its money. So it'll always be there to some elements, and at the end of the day, it is to an extent free traffic. So I think the SEO game will always be vital, but I think it's really important now for someone who does say they want a long-term organic strategy to also go, and how do I combine this with paid search? And you must know that coming from me, that's a very big thing, because I always used to swear by never paying for traffic or for ads, but the way Google's changed how things look online, I really see that being I don't see it being so much SEO anymore. I just see it being search engine marketing as a whole service now.
Yeah, and there's so many studies out there as well that just prove comprehensively that ranking well and appearing within the ads boosts the click-through rate of both sort of iterations of the site. So it's good for your PPC and for your organic. So a lot of companies sort of aim for this. Let's pay for PPC until we rank well, and then we'll switch it off. But the sort of fact is, having both there is beneficial. So, like Kyle says, it has to be viewed as a rounded effort, and everything sits within the umbrella of digital marketing, because you'd want to add into that as well social media, both paid and organic on that front as well, because they're all parts of the same picture, and each benefit the other in their own sort of specific and unique way. So it's all needing to be taken into account for a well-rounded campaign for any organisation or brand or business.
Yeah.
Yourself, Trev?
I think for me, I always try and keep it kind of closely related to what sort of content's working best. I mean, with SEO, the way SEO is moving in terms of its own landscape, I agree. I agree that they're always going to drive more attention to PPC and paid space, but at the same time, they're always going to have to afford those opportunities to the little guys that are just coming into the space. So it's really about what can those people do, and what opportunities do those people have in terms of the content they can be producing to get eyeballs on their site. And I mean, with that last update that just came out the other week, it was I think there was a massive shift towards video content that moved right up into, and there's a very sort of product focused term that we were talking about, but it was video content, with the chapters, sort of the timestamps allocated in, and it was weird because it was a very product focused keyword. But it just goes to show, if you identify what particular form of content is getting those rankings in your specific niche or for your specific subset of keywords, I think there's always, I think there's still plenty of opportunities that people can be taking advantage of if they just make sure that they're packing their website or the YouTube channel or taking YouTube videos and embedding it on the site or using FAQs and stuff like that. If they're providing good quality content, and I sound like I'm Rand Fishkin's golf caddy at the minute, so it's repeating things I've heard him say swinging a club, but it is true in a lot of cases where if you just think, what do I want to rank for, then go and search that keyword and iterations and variations of that keyword, and you see different forms of content ranking in different sort of phrasings of that keyword, then you know that you can make video and target that subset of keywords. You know that you can make FAQ content and go and target the other subset of keywords. So I think there's still, I don't think it's hopeless. I don't think all hope is lost for people that have a primarily organic driven digital marketing strategy.
No.
I do think there's a lot of merit to what you guys are saying, but I think there's a degree of optimism in there as well. It's not that necessarily that Google are completely removing focus from organic. I think it's just that they're evolving as they have always done, and it's just about, what form of content are they going to prefer next? Hopefully podcasts, because that's going to do us a lot of favors. But we'll see. We'll discuss the results of this little experiment on our rank and the impact it's had on our rankings in future episodes.
Well, I was just going to add into that obviously I think you touched upon sort of mine and Kyle's specialisms are more on the technical side of SEO, whereas our sort of content and link building guru, if you will.
I was hoping you was going to say guru.
But I think I sort of
legs crossed there, Trev.
Yeah,
I have got my legs crossed, but I only did it once he said it.
Our content yogi.
Yes.
Carry on, Ned.
For me, I sort of have a side specialism for the fact that over, as we were saying, the last decade, I've worked with and for some of the biggest e-commerce brands in the UK and around the world as well. So I've got a sort of secondary focus outside of SEO and understand the sort of conversion implications that SEO has when working with other channels as well. And with you saying about video doing well, for me, it sort of trips into the world of your conversion metrics having an effect on SEO, which we know does. It's always been a smaller effect, but I feel like that's having a stronger effect. And we've talked about a very well-known e-commerce brand a few times that we think are getting it absolutely spot on, but I'm still not giving them a free plug.
Ironically, they do sell plugs though, don't they?
Among a lot of other appliances online. They, for me, satisfy the absolute core thing that any e-commerce site should be going for. Their mantra is, if there is any question a customer could ask about a product, it should be answered on that page. And so for me, a lot of the signals we're seeing with any updates that are affecting the e-com world seem to be leaning more towards that. And it's just, again, iterating Google's message of sort of make it for the user, not for us. We're going to try and be the user. And they're getting smarter and smarter at it, as smart as machines can be. We know they've incorporated artificial intelligence into the algorithm now. And it's being created to mirror more and more closely an actual living, breathing human. Having seen Terminator, it terrifies me, but...
I was just about to say the Terminator analogy there, Dave. I think you and me have become one, yeah. What was it called? Skynet or something like this?
Yeah, Skynet.
Yeah, it is leaning towards there, right? Do you know there was a site who very briefly, I think do you know how you went on with conversion data being really important? They're one of the SEO agencies in the UK who they do a lot of cold calling and that's one of and how I think they managed to get good. They didn't last for long, but they had really good rankings for a couple of months. Their website was also an e-commerce website, and they were doing the cold calls and getting people to check out on their website and to sign up on their website. And they had a call center of about 20 people who obviously making the calls, directing them to the website, to the shop page, and then making them convert with obviously Google Analytics conversion data to actually purchase the product, which was their monthly SEO package. So it was driving a lot of conversion data for them being, in inverted commas, SEO Manchester. And it's and it really pushed their rankings up for a bit. But obviously being a service more than a product, I think, as you said, it got really smart and sussed them out. But there was a way where they sort of, I want to put in inverted commas, but hacked that aspect of how Google can see a website as the most relevant answer to the user.
Yeah, and over the years, people have sort of followed lots of different tricks for getting around Google. I remember the days, like Danny was saying, and yourself about just building as many links as possible, because essentially Google back in its very earliest iteration, back when it was the Backrub project, it was based on how many links, and over time it's grown massively in the way it works, but people have always looked for a way to trick it. And for me, that it just sets you up for the biggest headache, because you get into this cycle of let's try and beat Google, or Google have caught us, now let's recover from Google catching us and look for the next way to trick Google. Whereas, and one of the big sort of appeals for me in coming on board with you guys was the fact that that's just not a factor. We build future-proof websites by not being spammy, horrible SEOs, basically.
Exactly, you're playing into the hands of Google. I think that's a nice way to sort of summarize that. I think it's really our jobs and the jobs of other search engine marketers out there is to understand the direction in which Google is moving, and then give it what it's looking for before that becomes unanimous. And that's the way it's been for the past few years. I think it's leaning into that idea that it is very, very content focused, whether that's from just an on-site content quality perspective, or if it's to do with like a backlink building, sort of creating content that earns links and naturally attracts links and to strengthen the domain. Whichever way you slice it, it's really to do with the quality of content. So that's a nice segue, I suppose, into our final section, which is, where do you guys get your latest news in terms of SEO, search engine marketing? Where are your preferred outlets for news and tips and that sort of stuff? Who do you follow? What do you read?
For me, there's obviously quite a lot of the traditional sources. Like I like Search Engine Land, SEO Roundtable. Now and then I'll skim Moz and see what they're saying. But then there's more like underground SEOs who perhaps have started an SEO agency or just make money purely off affiliate marketing and stuff. Or pay per lead, which I'm sure we'll have episodes going into them down the future, or guests who specialize in that. But my top 5 would probably be Matt Diggerty. I would also do what's his name? The Lions Eel guy.
Daryl
Rossier. Yeah, Daryl Rossier. Who else is there?
You know what you've done? You've committed to 5 and you've thought of them on the spot. So I'm gonna let's go on. Do
you
5.
guys flush out the other 3.
Dave Anderson.
Dave Anderson, there he is.
Charles
I like
Lowe, you like a bit of Charles Lowe, don't you?
I do like a bit of Charles, but he's a nice dude, and he obviously gives very good analysis, but the problem is he only publishes once a year, so it's not a reliable source of SEO knowledge. But yeah, I'd say, and he's more into the black hat side of things. Like we're going on now, we don't really like to manipulate too much from it from an internal agency perspective, but it's also really good sometimes to just get an insight on how the guys are manipulating it, so you can just, you can perhaps do it in a more ethical way and just understand what is being rewarded, because guys are managing to get the rewards quickly, even though it's not long term. You can understand perhaps from the other side of the coin where the value is coming from.
Yeah, and it pulls back the curtain a little bit on the algorithm as well, doesn't it? If they're able to work it, by fundamentally tricking the algorithm, whilst we don't retread those same steps, it's good to see what sort of clues that activity reveals, and it's good to know what black hat tricks or what the black hat community is still up to, just on the very unlikely event that you come under a negative SEO attack, and it's good to know thy enemy, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dave?
Yeah, so for me, I'm trying not to be too controversial with my answer. I would agree with Kyle, but I'd also say that in terms of SEO news, I usually limit the SEO news and SEO blogs that I read purely for looking out for people sharing their findings during updates and the announcement of updates, and for case studies, because for me, and it's a completely personal thing, I just find over the years there's a lot of people that decided they wanted to get, I'm doing inverted commas with my fingers, sorry, SEO famous. So people that rather than for their actual work and their reputation, just wanted to be a voice and enjoy sort of a bit of celebrity within the industry. And I find, for me, the people that are still regarded as SEO celebrities haven't actually done any SEO work for a good many years now, some of them, because they've sort of gone down the road of making tools that we all use, or
courses.
Courses, or they do the speaker circuit and charge for the services there, and they don't need, or they own their own business and they've stepped back and they've got 100 people that work for them that do the actual work, and they've not touched it for years. So take it with a pinch of salt, because you find a lot of what's out there, they're not wanting to tell you anything because they don't want to help create competitors. So for me, a lot of where I continue to sort of grow my SEO knowledge and stuff is by speaking to other SEOs, like over as we've sort of touched upon a few times now, over a fairly long career in SEO, I've made some really good contacts, and I'm not that bad of a guy. I don't think you guys mind me too much.
Not that we'd say to your face.
No, not while it's recorded. But I've still a lot of contacts in the game. It's sort of working in-house and at agencies, and I'll have conversations with them, and we just sort of have an understanding that we don't drop names or talk about the clients that we're working with, because for all intents and purposes, sometimes we are in competition with each other.
Yeah.
But we discuss issues we're having and how we've got around them, things like that. But for me as well, being on the technical side, working closely with and reading up on things that sort of developers are doing and working on, because it goes hand in hand so very readily, and sort of almost tripping back into the last subject that we were talking on about the future of SEO, a big personal interest of mine and something I've been reading up on a lot, and I know I bore you guys to death with my obsession with schema, but learning the markup for voice search, because I feel that over the next few years that's going to become a more prevalent part of the way people are searching, and I'm really interested to see how that will trip into the more transactional rather than informational, but potentially transactional queries, And
Yeah, of course.
especially when you've got a giant like Amazon having stepped into that market. The Alexa is really going absolutely head to head with Google on the voice search market. How many people do you know day to day that either have Alexa or Google Home?
Well,
And
Trev's got one, doesn't he?
I've got one of each just to make
I
sure
have
that
one of-
I'm being spied on from every angle.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point you make as well. I think that sort of goes back to what we were talking about earlier as well about the direction of SEO and the way that you should be optimizing ahead of time. And I think voice search is definitely up there in almost like a newcomer to the search landscape. And like you say,
Yeah.
with giants like Amazon and Google leading those trends, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So sort of keeping on abreast of what sort of optimization is available for voice search can only be a good thing or a complete waste of time, but never a bad thing.
Oh yeah, and if anything, it's my time I'm wasting, and you're not going to judge me for it.
No, this is
How I
true.
spend my free time is up to me. If I want to talk to machines, then I will. God damn it.
No matter how sad it may be. Lovely stuff. Well, I think that's not a bad first podcast, to be honest. There, boys. We're at 40 minutes. I think we'll maybe round it up there, unless you think there's anything incredibly pressing that you absolutely have to get off your chest, Kyle.
There's the one thing that I want to say, which is what I want to say the pearl of wisdom that you passed to me before is wait till episode 8 and hopefully it will be a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe I'll put when we start doing better episodes, I'll maybe go back to this first one and put a little bit of a disclaimer at the beginning to say just skip the first 7. Number 8 is really where you want to jump in. Where we sort of get this a little bit more polished. But hopefully it's not been too boring to listen to. I think we've had a bit of a laugh.
I think
Oh,
we
yeah.
did
No, it's
really
been
well.
good, yeah.
While me and Kyle aren't within sort of striking distance to make us both behave, we could have been saying all sorts while you can't reach us.
Exactly, yeah. This is a good time to get it out of the way. Get all the animosity out of the way while you can't leather each other. And then once we're videoing them, because we are going to start filming these. Once we're back in the office, we're going to get a nice space out, and we'll start videoing these, and we'll do it properly. But for now,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
that.
we'll have to find out whether we're more or less relaxed when we actually have to look presentable and get. Well, me and Kyle don't really do that, but look more presentable than we do, and maybe even more.
Well, with how Tonk Trev is, which people will hopefully see around episode 5 or 6, I think we're going to have to doll ourselves up, to be honest, Dave.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get a really big couch as well because he is
Yeah.
huge.
I'm so thick and muscular that we're going to have to get a wide angle lens to fit me in that one. I'll sit in the middle. And
Whereas I
yeah.
look like a melted ice cream at the moment, so might be too.
What's your one, Trevor? Yogurt in a sock.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a yogurt in a sock and someone's drawn a sad face
I'm
on it.
aspiring to that at the moment. That would be a step up.
Awesome. Right. Well, let's round it off there then, guys. So thanks for listening to our first Gorillacast with Kyle, Dave, and me, Daniel Travis Brown, which I didn't actually mention my name at the beginning, but that's why everyone's been referring to me as Trav. So thanks a lot for listening, and check us out next time, and take care. Godspeed.
Cheers, guys.
Goodbye.
Thanks, guys.